grow, to rise to the fore, to grab the future, to open new doors. In the summer, you have a voice. In the summer, you have a choice. The BCS sets the pace to make this world a better place. Politics and health, education or wealth, a world that's clean, a world that's green. In the summer, we'll shape our dream. Yes, people's heart is the need of the hour. We'll renew our vision, fulfill our mission. With the faith of St. Paul in Christ who is risen. With the summer, you have a voice. In the summer, you have a choice. The BCS sets the pace to make this world a better place. We have a destiny with faith. We'll clinch the triumph of love over hate. The summer shows the way, committed to a better tomorrow today.
To the webinar on how to hold public official accountable under the Maharashtra Act. So we have with us our President of the Bombay Catholic Sabha, Sri Advocate Rafael D'Souza. That is me. Next slide. We also have our ex-president and moderator, Mr. Dolphy D'Souza. I will be reading out, introducing them briefly before their session. Next, please. And last but not the least, we have our key speaker, Mr. Shailesh Gandhi. Welcome all. I now request Advocate to please say a few words. Advocate Rafael D'Souza, President of the Bombay Catholic Sabha. I'm requesting all to please mute yourself, mute your videos also, please.
Yeah, Speaker of the day, Shri Shailesh Gandhi ji, a moderator, past President Shri Dolphy D'Souza, the principal office bearers of the Bombay Catholic Sabha, the executive committee members of the Bombay Catholic Sabha, as also the central councillors. Also, those who are past officers of the organizations who are present with us. I can see Thomas Lobo's name.
Hello.
All participants, welcome to this webinar. Once again, we had one webinar on the Right to Information Act, empowering the citizen. We heard the eloquency and the in-depth knowledge of our speaker, Shri Shailesh Gandhi, on that day. Today, we are again fortunate enough to have him with us on another subject which is also very important to us and important to every citizen of Maharashtra, especially. Government servants' regulations of transfer and reservation and prevention of delay in discharge of official duties. Now, this is an act which perhaps very, very rarely known. Mr. Gandhi has made in-depth study on this. This is an act which is as good as, and perhaps maybe a little more empowering act than the Right to Information Act. However, most of us are unaware of this. Today, we will learn from Mr. Gandhi what are the salient features of this act, what are the timings that within which period we are required to give the get the services, as to what is the tenure of each bureaucrat that's going to be, and if they do not perform their duties, what are the repercussions? So once again, let me congratulate Lawrence Fernandez, his team of training and youth affairs forum for organizing webinar for us, and I wish all the participants a very knowledgeable and enjoyable evening with Mr. Shailesh Gandhi. So once again, pleasure to be welcoming all of you and thanking you for your presence here. Over to Lawrence for further action. Lawrence, unmute yourself.
So before we actually introduce the speakers for the session, I would request some ground rules. A is, while the session is on, we can request you all to mute your video as well as audio. It is important that you have a good internet connection. Otherwise, the slides may look blurry. Next is, it is advisable that you should be on a laptop if possible. You should have a headset, earphones, so that you can have a better audio experience also. And if you have a question, then if you see at the bottom of the entire page, you will find a chat. Can you see? Currently, it is showing two chat. This you can key in your question. Periodically, we will have Mr. Dolphy go through these questions, and whenever it is relevant, he will intervene and ask the question on your behalf. At the end of the session, if we still have time, we can have an audio round, or we can have you on a video round asking these questions. I hope I am very clear. So I now move on to introduce our key speaker, Mr. Shailesh Gandhi. He was the first generation entrepreneur and distinguished alumnus awardee of the IIT Bombay. He sold his company to become an RTI activist. Shailesh was part of the national RTI movement, which was involved in drafting the National Act. He was the convener of the National Campaign for People's Trust to Information, that is NCPRI. He was the only RTI activist to have been chosen as a Central Information Commissioner. He disposed a record of 20,000 cases, ensuring most cases were decided in less than 90 days. He gave many landmark decisions on RTI, apart from organizing the first digital paperless office in the Commission. He is passionately pursuing the cause of ensuring a time-bound justice delivery system and improving governance system, apart from conducting workshops and advocating active citizenship. Mr. Shailesh Gandhi, we welcome you to this session. Our moderator for the session is Mr. Dolphy D'Souza. He is a human rights defender. He was also the ex-president of the BCS, and he is the project lead Mumbai for Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. He is also the convener of the Police Reforms Watch. Mr. Dolphy D'Souza, we welcome you to the session, and I request Mr. Dolphy D'Souza to please take charge of the session. You can begin the proceedings, please. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. Thank you, Advocate Rafael, the President, Lawrence, the Vice President, and the other Vice Presidents and office bearers, and the Executive Committee members. Thank you, Shailesh ji, for accepting our request for the presentation that you're going to do today. Very interesting to observe that this act of 2006, we are in 2020, and most of us are still not aware of the importance of this act, which Mr. Gandhi will share with us. One of the most interesting things about Mr. Gandhi is that he has this whole focus on governance, and then he digs into something like this and then prepares himself so that others can be motivated to take charge of that act, which should be owned by us to get things moving in the government. And as Howard Dean said, the role of the citizen is to keep his mouth open. It's very important for us that this is one weapon, besides, of course, the RTI, where we can still, you know, what we call basically ensure to whip the government and its authorities to get things moving. Having said that, last time Lawrence had circulated to you the RTI user guide, and then again it was followed by circulating to you both the rules and the act of Act 21 to you. The reason why we circulate this is that besides this being an academic exercise to understand the law and the other things, it's also important for us to know the act per se and its use, so that we are empowered to basically use it very effectively. And in the course of maybe you could put it on the chat whether, first of all, whether you have read the Act 21. We will not talk about the RTI now, but we'll talk about Act 21, both the Act as well as the rules. Just put it on the chat. You're not going to an exam for this, but very important is that every time we have sessions like this, our appeal to you is to prepare yourself, first of all, to understand the connection between Mr. Gandhi's presentation and the Act. It will make things more clearer to you. And also in terms of asking for clarifications, you will then ask very relevant questions. The time for us is not to be cynical, because there are acts and acts and acts. The way we use them to bring them back to life for governance is the key issue. Having said that, I leave the floor open to Mr. Shailesh Gandhi to take over from here, and we could start the processes. Make note of whatever clarifications you require. You can put it on the chat box. Maybe as Lawrence said, if you have time, then we can, maybe you can raise these questions, or you have a comment at the end of the scheduled time. You can make those comments, but we want it to be interactive. We want it to be participative. And later on, we must take a pledge to find ways and means to use them, which Mr. Gandhi will basically guide us on. Over to you, Mr. Gandhi.
Thank you very much, Dolphy.
Alvin, can we have the PPT, please? Sorry, Mr. Gandhi, you can continue.
Yeah. I'm thankful to the Bombay Catholic Sabha for this opportunity of talking to all of you, and I'm thankful to all of you for participating. Let's start in the beginning. Why this act came and how did it come about? This act was consequent to a fast by Anna Hazare in 2003 at Azad Maidan, where he had three basic demands. One was an investigation into charges of corruption against certain ministers. Second was the Right to Information Act for Maharashtra. And third was this law, the Transfers and Delays and Charters Act. All these three were accepted by the government after some days of fasting by Anna Hazare. And this law was brought in as an ordinance. The Maharashtra Right to Information Act was brought in as a Maharashtra Act. And this law was brought in as an ordinance for some reason. The ordinance was repeated. And ultimately in 2006, the legislature passed the ordinance and made it a law. Can you start the presentation, please? Hello?
Yeah, we are doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold.
So 2003, this first time this ordinance was promulgated, and 2006, the law was passed, and it is known as Act 21 of 2006. Interestingly, if you notice, it's got a very long name. Government Servants Regulation of Transfers and Prevention of Delay in Discharge of Official Duties. By the time I say it, I'm out of breath. And therefore, I call it a simple thing, Act 21 of 2006. In Marathi, it's often referred to as Daftari Dirangai Kanun. Why? I believe the bureaucrats had realized that right to information had placed a lot of power in the hands of the citizens. So they gave this a very long name, a 14-word name, right to information was so short, RTI. They said if we give a short name to this, we are finished. People will left with this also. So they gave it this long name and did not pass any rules. A law becomes effective when the rules are passed. This is, in fact, a very peculiar thing of our democracy, and it's an anti-democratic position. The British had brought this in, saying we had some legislatures, etc. And even if they passed a law, it would not become effective until the British government decided to pass rules. We've continued with that process. And therefore, though legislature or parliament are supposed to be supreme, it does not become effective until rules are notified. The government had realized that RTI was becoming a very powerful tool, and therefore for 7 long years, they did not make the rules for this law. Ultimately, in the end of 2013, they framed the rules to give effect to this law. And now we have this law. Unfortunately, as the earlier speaker said, this law is almost like a confidential law. People don't know about it. Government is unwilling to implement it. Government realizes that if this gets implemented, a lot of their arbitrary power goes away. A lot of corruption will disappear. And I'll explain how. Next slide, please. Section 4, there are 3 different aspects woven into the same law: transfers, citizens' charters, and delays of official work. Section 4 specifies that the tenure of government servants will be 3 years, and transfers will normally be made only in April and May of each year. If an officer has to be transferred for special reasons in less than this tenure, reasons have to be recorded in writing. Now you might think, how does it affect us? It's related to government servants. Please understand, when a government servant is transferred, typically he requires 2 to 3 months to understand the lay of the land and to understand his new job and understand the people working for it and so on. After that, an average officer would take about 2 to 3 months to figure out how to resolve the problems if he's an honest officer. Quite often officers get transferred in 6 months to a year. So therefore, can they work at all? The answer is no, they cannot work. And this is one of the reasons for our poor governance. There are good officers, there are bad officers, all that given. But if they are given 3 years, assurance of tenure, except in the rare cases, they should not be transferred before 3 years. We would get a much better governance and the good officers will get a chance to really serve us. This law, as far as this is concerned, to some extent government servants have used it, but on the whole, it is our interest also to ensure the government servants have a fixed tenure. And transfers should normally be in April and May. Why? Because most of these government servants have school-going kids or college-going kids. So if you transfer them in between, they are put to great inconvenience, and that is why transfer is used as a weapon of punishment by the political class. For all IAS and IPS officers, the reasons have to be put down in writing and sanctioned by the Chief Minister of the state. This is not, basically, in most cases, they say administrative reasons to transfer people, which is why good officers are not able to function. I think it's in citizens' interest to ensure that this part is also properly implemented. Next slide, please. The next is the Citizens' Charter. This is extremely important. Section 8 says every office or department must publish Citizens' Charter within 6 months of the Act, which is long gone. Section 2A states, Citizens' Charter means a list of facilities or services rendered by the office or department together with the time limit for providing such facility or services to the general public. You may have heard of the Right to Services Act because the government talks a lot about it. It's a thoroughly useless law, which does not effectively do anything, but only gives the government a chance to say that we are doing a lot. This Citizens' Charter, if it is made every year and updated in May each year, would give us the perfect way of dealing with everything, and corruption would go down, because then government officers cannot behave arbitrarily. Unfortunately, in most cases, citizens' charters have not been made, and if they have been made, most of us are unaware of them and they are not meaningful. This is the second part. The third part is the most important that I'm going to share with you. Next slide, please. The topic, okay, section 9, okay. Section 9(2). The head of every office or department shall determine as far as possible 3 levels of submission for taking final decision in all matters pertaining to that office or department. Therefore, most matters must be decided in only 3 levels, not in a round robin story which goes round and round to 20 people. Section 10 is very vital. Every government servant shall be bound to discharge his official duties and the official work assigned for pertaining to him more diligently and as expeditiously as possible, provided that normally no file shall remain pending with any government servant in the department or office for more than 7 working days. Therefore, nobody can keep a file pending for weeks and months, which is what they usually do. They keep telling you, come back, come back, come back. The citizen gets harassed. Ultimately, he makes an offer and says, please take a bribe and finish this, which is a very sad state of affairs. This law says within 3 levels, most decisions should be taken concerning citizens. An application, a complaint or representation that you make is a file for a government. Please understand this carefully. Normally, they do not do their job and wait for years. They will not touch your file. Whereas this law specifies that within 7 working days, you cannot keep a file. No government officer can keep a file for more than 7 working days, which is roughly equivalent to about 10 calendar days, assuming weekends and so on. And in 3 levels. Therefore, most decisions should be taken within about 30 to 40 days. And further, this act says, provided also that in respect of the files not required to be referred to any other department, the concerned department shall take the decision and necessary action in the matter within 45 days. And in respect of files required to be referred to any other department, decision and necessary action shall be taken within 3 months. Therefore, maximum in 90 days, a decision has to be taken. There are exceptions like quasi-judicial decisions, etc., but most applications, complaints, and representations that a citizen makes are a file which must be, the output of which should be adhered to as per this law, which it is not. And we have been very lazy and lax in not ensuring that it gets implemented. If you just imagine you apply for something, you apply for a license, a water connection, an electricity connection, whatever you do, even a building proposal plan, and you get a response in 45 days guaranteed, or worst case 90 days, you're quite happy. You will not have to bribe. This is what we must get enforced. And mind you, disciplinary action is something that government servants fear more than financial penalties. The RTI Act works because of financial penalties. Disciplinary action, the commissioner can only recommend. Here the law says disciplinary action must be taken against government servants if they fail to comply with this. Next. Any willful or intentional delay or negligence in the discharge of official duties or in carrying out the official work assigned or pertaining to such government servant shall amount to dereliction of official duties and shall make such government servant liable for appropriate disciplinary action. 3. The concerned competent authority, on noticing or being brought to its notice any such dereliction of duties in the part of any government servant, after satisfying himself about such dereliction on the part of such government servant, shall take appropriate disciplinary action against such defaulting government servant under the relevant disciplinary rules, including taking entry relating to such dereliction of duty in the annual confidential report of such government servant. And if this is done, it impacts the entire career of a government servant. It's believe me, I've seen when as a commissioner, I would penalize people, people were worried, people were a little upset. But whenever I talked of recommending disciplinary action, they were scared. They were scared absolutely. This law effectively does what? It says no officer can keep a file for more than 7 working days, which is about 10 days, working days 7 working days, which is about 10 calendar days. If decision has to be taken within a department, within 45 days, the decision must be taken, and obviously it must be conveyed to you. If more than one department is involved, 90 days is the outer limit. This is really a very great and empowering act. Next slide, please. Now, this is what I want all of you to understand. All applications, complaints, and representations that a citizen makes are files. Interdepartmental files are also files, and they also must be cleared like this, which doesn't happen. Section 10 says no file should remain with any officer for more than 7 working days, about 10 calendar days. For all files which do not require reference to any other department, decision and necessary action should be taken within 45 days. If files have to be referred to another department, decision and necessary action to be taken within 3 months. If there is a delay and it is brought to the attention of the head of the department, what's called competent authority, or the secretary of the department, or the municipal commissioner in the case of BMC, he must initiate a preliminary inquiry and order disciplinary action if required. Imagine anytime there is a delay of more than 45 days, and let's say you applied for a water connection, or you applied for a water meter, or something like that, the government must respond to you in a period of 45 days. It's a matter of respect for the individual citizen. Also, it's a matter of curbing corruption. A lot of corruption would get curbed if they had to respond to you. Let's say you apply for a ration card and the government does not respond to you in 45 days. You can take that person to task by writing to his boss, and that boss is supposed to initiate a preliminary inquiry within 15 days and submit a report. Let us assume for a moment that they'll be very lazy about it and actually say, okay, we conducted an inquiry and we found him not guilty. How many times can they do this? I've seen most citizens going to government offices almost acting like beggars. This would ensure that respect would come back to the citizen. Next slide, please. Now, Rule 3.6, this is now going to the rules of the law. The concerned head of office, department, on noticing or being brought to his notice any dereliction in providing service and facilities will hold and complete the preliminary inquiry within 15 working days. If it is found that the concerned officer or employee has shown habitual or willful or intentional delay or negligence in discharge of official duty, the recommendation of departmental inquiry shall be forwarded to the competent authority. The competent authority shall issue order of departmental inquiry as per the relevant rules. When a delay which violates these timelines is brought to the notice of the competent authority, he must carry out a preliminary inquiry within 15 working days, which is about 20 calendar days. This is huge. Unfortunately, most of us are unaware of it, and therefore we are not using it. A few people do try and use it, having said this, but the government refuses to implement it. They respond to it without anything, and we have a solution for that. I'll deal with that. Now, this law does not apply to the municipal corporation, but there is a similar provision. Next slide, please. For municipal corporation, Act 21 of 2006 does not apply to the municipal corporation, but Section 64C of Mumbai Municipal Corporation Act has provisions similar to Section 10 of the Act 21 of 2006. For other municipal corporations in Maharashtra state, Section 72C of the Maharashtra Municipal Corporations Act apply. So what happens is, when you are using this law, if you're using it in the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai, let's say, you mention Section 64C of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation Act. Now we'll see how we can use this. Next slide, please. Action for citizens for state government bodies. If a complaint, representation, application has not been responded to for 45/90 days, send a letter to the secretary, head of the department along the following lines. This is a simple draft. You can draft it in a different manner, but here is something I'm giving you ready-made. All you need to do is fill in the blanks effectively. I've given my application for whatever work on so-and-so date. Mention the date on which it was given. Copy and closed. Since then, I have received no communication. I would like to draw your attention to Section 10 of the Transfers Charters and Delays Act 20 of 2006, which mandates that no decision can be kept pending for over 45 or 90, depending on the. In the instant case, no decision has been communicated to me despite the lapse of so many days. I request you to conduct a preliminary inquiry within 15 days to fix responsibility on the officers responsible for this delay and take appropriate disciplinary action against them. I request that the report of the inquiry may please be sent to me. I look forward to early action in the above matter. We shall call it complaint under Section 10 of Act 21 of 2006. You file for whatever, you file a complaint and you get no response. See, when they give you a response, they have to give you some logical response. They cannot just shove it away. If you file an application for a water connection or a ration card or some such thing, they cannot not respond to you, which is their standard way. When they respond to you, they might point out certain defects in your application. Fine, you get an opportunity of correcting them. But the normal procedure is not responding, not even looking at your letters. If you make a representation also, the government body must respond, because that is the minimum courtesy that one human being extends to another. Next slide, please. Now, here we tried this once for a society to get an action implementation of an order. I refer to the encroachment in front of the main gate of Metro Unity Housing something. This was brought to the notice of BMC officers at various times, and appropriate orders have been issued. In this particular case, BMC had issued orders saying remove this encroachment, but nothing was being done because the person who was encroaching had some political pull. This letter was sent saying that orders have been issued to remove the encroachment, but no action is being taken. This certainly reflects willful and intentional delay and negligence in discharge of official duties and amounts to dereliction of duty and invites disciplinary action as mentioned in section 64C. I'm bringing this to your notice and expect you would take action for dereliction of duty by the concerned officer. As per section 64C(3), you are duty bound to take disciplinary action against the recalcitrant officer and consider making an adverse entry into his annual confidential report. I request you to send me the action taken on this letter and ensure that the requisite action is taken promptly. Thanking you. This actually led to a result. The encroachment was removed. BMC officers felt threatened enough with this letter. In fact, initially they did not respond. We followed with an RT application saying who has got this letter of ours and who has been holding on to it, and they acted against the encroacher. Next slide, please. Example, application for water connection, repair permission, change of address, complaint of unauthorized construction, pension for over 90 days could be dealt with by sending a letter to the Secretary of the Department, Municipal Commissioner, or Municipal Commissioner, depending on what's applicable. I have given my application. It's the same draft repeated. If what is in red, if you are applying to the state government, it will be Transfers, Charters and Delays Act 20 of 2006. If it is Mumbai Municipal Corporation, it will be section 64C of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation Act. And if it is some other municipal corporation of Maharashtra, it will be section 72C of the Maharashtra Municipal Corporations Act. If you do not get a response, which is very likely, in most cases, they just refuse to answer you. They treat this like dirt. Please understand, what is a law? A law is what is passed by legislature or parliament. The president of the country, the governor of a state, or the chief minister or prime minister have to legally follow the law. They cannot say we don't want to follow it. It's not up to them. Just as a citizen has to follow a law, these government functionaries also have to follow the law. And if you do not get a response to this, which today it's widespread, there'll be a few thousand people who have used this law. I'm not saying nobody has used the law, but it's been very small. I've been championing the use of this law in the last 4 or 5 years, but we are not reaching anywhere. And I'll tell you how we could become effective. Next. How we can persuade Maharashtra government. They are not interested in implementing this law. We got this because of a fast by Anna Hazare. I think the least we do is get it implemented. Make the government work for you. Use Act 21 of 2006. If an application, complaint, or representation has been given and there is no response, file a complaint under one of these to the secretary or commissioner under section 10 of Act 21 of 2006 for Maharashtra government, section 64C of Mumbai Municipal Corporation Act for Municipal Corporation, section 72C of the Maharashtra Municipal Corporations Act for other municipal corporations. If you get or do not get a response within 40 days to this complaint, please file an RT application seeking its progress. If about 20 cases of non-compliance are collected, a writ could be filed in the High Court. Let me make an honest admission. Initially, now I work alone. I have no organization. I have no support team or anything. So that's the way I operate. When I started on this, I told people send me applications, but I had no means of collating this and collating this information. Therefore, it did not go forward. There were citizens who had done this. Now I'm taking a slightly different tack, asking organizations like yours to take the lead, to take ownership of this. Government servants fear disciplinary action more than the financial penalties. This law could be as powerful as RTI if we get implementation. In fact, I believe if all communications to government have to be responded to within 45 days or 90 days, governance will become much better. If there is no defect in your complaint, if there is no defect in your application, if there is no defect in your representation, a government servant will feel stupid to give you a stupid response to that. And when he does not respond, there will be a threat of disciplinary action. If we can find a few thousand cases like this, the government will have to give in because they will have to follow the law. And if they do not follow the law, next slide, please. You can make this act work. Government must respond to citizens. If you want your government to work, you will have to act. Bombay Catholic, now here's my request to Bombay Catholic Sabha. I'm requesting various organizations to take this up organizationally. Because as I said, one individual like me is unable to do this. Bombay Catholic Sabha could consider creating a register of such complaints, and if government is not acting in these matters, which is very likely, a writ could be filed in the High Court. And no High Court and no government Attorney General can come and tell the High Court we will not follow the law. The government will be completely defenseless. A writ would succeed, and a couple of times if we have to go to High Court, it would ensure that this act becomes implementable. Citizens have to get this law implemented, have to act to get this implemented. I'm hoping that by the time we end today, Bombay Catholic Sabha, Mr. Lawrence and your president make a commitment that they will take this forward and they will ensure. I'm willing to and very happy to assist you in any matter that you like in this matter. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you.
Can we have questions? You could raise it in the chat box. Before that, I go back to my. First of all, I like to thank Mr. Shailesh Gandhi for the clarity in his presentation. It's not as complicated as one looks at it. Only thing is work needs to be done at the ground level. So we need to prepare ourselves for that. So we will work this out in terms of what campaigns or strategies we need to adopt. President also could respond to that. But the question I want to ask you, which I asked in the beginning, is put it on the either on the chat or raise your hand. How many of you have read the Act 21?
Dolphy,
yeah.
Just 1 second.
Sure, Shailesh.
Pranav Kachre, former very senior bureaucrat of Maharashtra and the doyen of the RTI movement, has joined this. I just noticed.
Yeah.
He may also be able to give some comments on this.
Sure. We'll give him a chance. What's the name you said?
Pranav Kachre.
Okay.
Kachare. Kachre.
Okay. Can we have a quick show of hands? How many of you have at least opened and had a look at the Act? Nobody seems to have looked at it. Huh?
We can request them, Dolphy, to send on their chat that, yeah, we have done it or something. Some one word, done, kind of,
No, I have said that there's only one reply that is there to say yes, done.
Yeah.
In terms of a thing like that.
We can request, if you all want to communicate, you can just say read. Yeah. Just say read if you have read it.
Thomas has said,
On the chat box.
said it. We need a quick 30
Thomas
seconds. We need this response. If you have not read it, you have not read it. You have not seen it. Doesn't matter. But those who have read it, let's have a look at it in terms of, because see, if you don't read the act, the impact of what you want to be empowered after Mr. Gandhi spending his time to talk to us makes no sense, honestly speaking. Of course, we have time because we will have to work out a blueprint of follow-up. But what is important is that please, whenever you get material like this, it is important for us to prepare ourselves so that we get more empowered in terms of connecting with what Mr. Shailesh Gandhi shared with us in terms of the whole issue about Act 21. Okay. Any questions? Please raise it. There's one question from Irene Shailesh ji. Can a citizen file an RTI application for the delay in passing orders?
Yeah. Don't say why is there a delay. Pose it like this. Ask for which officer had the papers for how many days, which date did they get it, which date, and what action they took. That will itself show you the delays, and then file a complaint about the delay.
Okay. Reynolds has said that, okay, he has said he's active on RTI matters now to proceed on this. Thank you, Reynolds. Sunil Fatado has said, Section 10, does it apply for if the officer is CEO of MADA?
There is some controversy on that. I think this would have to be legally settled, whether the act will apply to MADA or not. Government claims it does not apply. Most of us believe it does apply. So there is some controversy on that, and maybe we need some legal clarity.
Okay. Maria D'Souza has said, I have a question. My builder has applied for OC in the month of December 2019. Can we buyers go through RTI, or only builder has a right to question the municipality?
I didn't get the question.
The question was that the builder has told them that he has applied for OC in December 2019, but they don't know about it. So he's saying, as a buyer, can we go directly through RTI?
Absolutely. Not as a buyer, any one of you, anyone can. An RTI, there is no locus standi requirement. So you can just ask whether the application for this has been submitted or not. File the RTI with BMC and they have to respond to you. They cannot give any excuse for not responding.
Okay. Thomas Lobo, can government servants themselves use this act to protest their transfer if it does not comply with the act?
They can. And right now, the major usage of this law is by government servants. Which is okay. I have no complaint with that.
Sunil, I think, has said that since the last 3 years, the citizen charter has not been updated.
Yeah. You see, we should write to them and say you have not updated this as per the law and collect such things and then put pressure. I believe maybe high courts may be the right avenue to put pressure. But if we sustain this movement or this push for a few days, even if 50 citizens do this push continuously, I think in 2 years we'll get a result clearly on this.
Rafael has asked a question. In view of 3 years term, how do you see en masse transfers of municipal commissioners in Maharashtra?
It's happening very arbitrarily. And I think citizens must take greater interest in this. Tukaram Munde, a very good municipal commissioner, has been transferred because the corporators don't like him. Or I think they have slapped a corruption charge against him. And this should not be done. Whether an officer is good or bad, they can't throw him out. So you must keep on ensuring that they get their full term. Then it's much easier to get better governance.
Aditi has asked, yeah, you finished, Alish? Aditi has asked about if builder has made agreement and given a date of possession, can you make excuses for extension to RERA and not give rent to the flat buyers? Does RERA have a special act for this?
No, I'm sorry, I'm not an authority on RERA, so I would not comment on this.
Okay. Irene has said, does housing society come under RTI Act? This comes again and again in our.
A normal housing society does not come under RTI unless one of the two conditions are satisfied. A, it can be shown that it is substantially financed by government. Alternately, it is controlled. And there are situations where an administrator is appointed to run the affairs of a society. Then it's a public authority and falls in the RTI Act. But a normal housing society does not fall under RTI.
Okay, Godwin has raised the question that Honorable High Court had directed the BMC to clear some encroachment cluster, approximately 40 to 45,000 and collect its land. So how would the RTI help in this? As you mentioned, should we file an RTI asking what has been the progress of the High Court?
My suggestion would be in such an event, file first a complaint or representation saying this is the Bombay High Court order, what has been done with it, who's responsible for implementing it. And then if they do not respond, which is very likely, follow up with a complaint under Section 10 of the RTI Act or Section 64C if it's BMC, 64C of the Bombay Municipal Corporations Act.
Okay. Yeah. We have Alan Norona who has raised his hand. So can you, Alan, can you unmute yourself and ask the question?
I think Alvin has to unmute him.
Dolphy, my question was answered.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's answered. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Benilda has asked a question. What is the definition of quasi-judicial?
It is not a it is not the judicial process. Information commissioners give decisions in a quasi-judicial manner. Everyone except the judges, when they give decisions on matters of law, it's normally referred to as quasi-judicial decisions.
Gordon has asked a question. Most of the departments have vigilance department. Have vigilance department any role to play in this?
Digital departments, are you talking of government working in a digital manner? Is that what is intended?
No, vigilance department.
Yes.
Most of
I think
sorry.
They would also be covered by this law.
No, his question is, have vigilance departments any role to play in this?
Not really. I mean, the truth is vigilance departments are anyway a useless set of people. So therefore, I would say, yes, if we bring enough pressure and the government starts implementing this law, then some of these cases could go to the vigilance department. That's a possibility. But directly, I don't see a connection right now.
Any more questions to be asked? Please raise them now, or you can raise your hand. And two participants have raised their hands. Can you see it, Alvin? Who's the two participants?
there is Sunil Furtado. So Dolphy, you can request people to come live or ask the question.
Yeah, you can do that. Those who want to ask questions can do that live.
Yeah, I have unmuted.
Alvin,
Yeah, right.
Please unmute your audio.
You can ask
Yeah,
him to speak.
Hi, this is Sunil Furtado here. Can I?
Yeah, please, Sunil, please.
Yeah, the question was that, Shailesh sir, see, I have already filed a petition in the High Court. The High Court's decision was encroachment was to be demolished. Not a decision, but it was told that within 15 days they have to. This is already 3 years back. And since 3 years, the case is still pending. They had to file the reply within 15 days. But then after 15 days, the High Court is like still taking the date and the things is getting postponed. Now, further, what can be done on this?
My suggestion would be, try this. Look, Act 21 of 2006 is a new act. New meaning it's an old act, but which has not been used. Try and use this. File a complaint saying this High Court decision has not been implemented. Who's responsible? And if they don't respond, which is very likely, pursue that. as a complaint under Section 10 of the RTI Act and then pursue this matter. Combination of this law with RTI would probably be a very forceful.
No, the thing was that I had proofs under RTI for which I had gone to the High Court. And under this High Court, the High Court had asked the municipal officers to give their response and why they have not demolished this. Besides, this is a illegal encroachment.
Alternately, file a contempt petition in the High Court.
Okay, I'll have to again file a contempt petition in the High Court.
I am also reluctant to suggest going to the High Court, but
because I am fighting for this since last 3 years, more than 3 years, you can say, and no response is yet coming from the High Court also. No decision.
I actually believe our judicial system needs to get improved, for which I hold different seminars. Until our judicial system improves, we have a serious problem. You know, we get stuck at the court stage in everything that we try and do.
Okay, is there this now with the Section 21 which we were discussing on the municipal, is this the same applicable for MHADA?
As I said, there is some controversy on whether it would apply to government, Maharashtra government corporations or not. I'm not very clear about it. Right now, it's not being used even by Maharashtra government. So my suggestion is we'll have to stretch and test this law. There will be some corporations which it may or may not apply to. I'm not very clear about this in all fairness, but even apply for MHADA, then we'll collect something and we'll get a judicial determination on whether it applies to such corporations or not.
Yeah, because I would require something on MHADA. In fact, MHADA, a lot of pending RTIs and then replies not coming and then people not responding. A lot of things are there since last 7-8 years. I have been fighting, but nothing is happening.
Sunil, can we restrict ourselves because we have several other.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Very much. Afterwards, after the session is over, we can always connect with Shailesh Gandhi, or you can connect with any of us for a conversation. Sorry, yeah. Thank you so much. Shailesh, could you introduce Mr. Our friend who is there, Kachwe, in terms of introduction, so that he can say a few words during this session?
You've been in the bureaucracy. Unmute yourself, or can somebody unmute him? And my suggestion is start your video also, so that people can see you, Prahlad.
Yeah, it is already on.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you. This is very useful act. In fact, immediately after RTI, this act has come, but now it is overlapped by Right to Service Act, because in India, this is the first act which has given time-bound delivery of service, which really India wanted. But what is important here is what is written is a charter. In RTI, there is a proactive disclosure, and in Right to Service there is a schedule. Means you have to lay down what service will be delivered within what time, in what way, what is the procedure of action. This is all about it. So 3 things are very important here. 1, charter to be done. So if at all somebody is interested, if your institution is interested, we have to see that charters are prepared. Those charters have to be prepared within 6 months of it. Second, there is a system of 3-tier system. There is first tier is receipt of application, another is processing of application, and third is disposing of application. So in Mantralaya, if you look at all the website, you will find their orders, 3-tier orders. But if you personally go and check, the file moves in about 19 hands. I was in the governance, so I have seen it. So I used to run from this department to this. So 45 days is for if the file is going to be decided within that department, and 19 days is for interdependence if some consultation is there. So another is second important point after charter is 3-tier system has to be established, and last is who will exercise what power. That has to be cleared, and they should do it religiously. That is not done. The beauty of this act is that there is a provision of evaluation of this act. You see the distance between the implementation of the act was implemented from the 1st July 2006 and rules came 2013. Some citizens group in Nagpur filed writ petition. They compelled the government to file the rules. And while that petition was going on, court had asked what about the evaluation of the implementation of this act. I was instrumental in that, and I was also part of the committee that was evaluating. Finally, evaluation could not be done. So this is the act which needs to be evaluated. Government evaluation report has to be put on the floor of the House. All provisions are there, but RTI was largely used. This is not used. But at some places I have seen that people have started using RTI to chase this. File has to be cleared within 45 days as has been told. So if a file is not disposed of within 45 days, people use RTI to check with how many days this file was on whose table. So tell me the journey of the file from the date it started. It stayed on whose table, how many days. So in Nasik Municipal Corporation, I was there, and all officers were complaining that large number of applications were there. They were chasing the files because people are reluctant. See, this is a combo act. First part of the act is regulation of transfer. This has been largely used. In fact, the object was to make people give secure tenures. There should be regulation. There should be no arbitrariness, so that they will be comfortable. They will efficiently render the services. So second part is prevention of delay in discharge of public duty. So first part is implemented because it was of the benefit of the government servants. So it is used, and there are number of writ petitions and MAT applications and everything. But this last part, that is chapter 3, has not been implemented. So there has to be some public pressure on this for implementation.
Thank you, sir, for being with us today. And Mr. Katre is a very senior veteran bureaucrat with hands-on experience in governance. Thank you for joining us this particular webinar. Thank you so much, and thank you for your thoughts. And I think we'll pick up a lot of value from that. Thank you so much, sir. Questions? Let's see. We have got some questions. Shailesh-ji, you're getting very interesting questions. Can I file an RTI application? See, people have forgotten about Act 21 already. They're only asking about RTI. Can I file RTI application online due to COVID-19 situation online? We have an online facility now in Maharashtra, and correct, no, Shailesh-ji, on RTI?
We have an RTI online, RTI online.maharashtra.gov.in. You can file an RTI application online.
Okay.
What is the question?
No, can we file online? That was one of the questions which you have answered. But another question, there are 2 or 3 questions.
Online.maharashtra.gov.in.
Just a minute. As per section 8, Thomas Logo has raised, as per section 8, have departments prepared citizens. That's what Mr. Katre also said. If it is not, we have to ask for it. Shailesh-ji?
That's right. We have to pressure. See, some people have done it, but it's been done very haphazardly. In my opinion, our first priority, citizen perspective, should be the third part, then the second part, then the first part. Citizens Charter would actually be, the Right to Services Act is a bogus act. It has been left to each department to decide which service to provide under Right to Services. So therefore, it's a useless act. And the way the whole act is structured is completely useless. It's only meant to ensure that a commissioner is appointed who can get a post-retirement benefit.
There's a question raised because people always mix High Court with RTI with Act 21. The question raised is by Benilda about the Goregaon Savai unit filing a petition before the High Court regarding illegal fish market encroaching footpath, and no action has been taken even after writing so many complaints to the BMC ward office.
Right.
So on one side we have the litigation that is going on, and on the other side, I don't know how BMC will get involved. Sailesh, you want to?
No, you can, under this law, under section 64C of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation Act, write to them if they do not respond. Say that this encroachment must be removed. They must respond to you saying something. If they don't respond, they are violating Act 20 of 2006. So this is another pressure point which you can use. And if you start using it, I think we'll get enough cases to go to a court.
Okay. Gordon D'Souza has raised the point. Sometime back, citizens were allowed to check the files on certain days. Is this still allowed?
The position has not changed in law, so therefore it should still be allowed, but I'm not very sure because I can see some problems because of COVID. COVID is something that none of us could have forecast. So supposing somebody says, look, how do I know a person coming in my office does not have corona disease? And when he touches so many files, what happens? So this is the real answer. It's an unprecedented situation we're all trying to look at.
Sneha, you had some question to raise. You can raise it. You have Sneha Goel. You have some question to raise. Please raise it. Any more questions that there's one question from Irene which says, can I file an RTI application to find out the financial expenses incurred in fighting? The question is not very clear. It's not very clear. Fighting employer. Irene, can you raise the question if you are there? Please raise it. I cannot follow the question. It says, can I file an RTI application to find out the financial expenses incurred in fighting employer in government establishments?
Let me put it in simple terms. If what you are asking for exists in government, they have to give it to you. The question I'm not clear about, but anything where there is information on the files of the government, that information has to be given to you.
Can the delay in metro construction be taken up as this involves the central government officers and they do fall under this jurisdiction?
Can we come again?
Can the delay in metro constructions be taken up as this involves the central government officers and they do fall under this? What do you want to say, whether they fall under this jurisdiction?
Yeah, they will not fall under Act 20 of 2006, but you can try and pin delays by asking RTI queries to the metro department.
Okay. Are the private schools, Maria D'Souza, are the private schools run by private individuals come under RTI?
No. Unless you can show that they are financed by government, the answer is all private bodies are not covered under RTI.
But many of the schools, Sailesh, are on government property.
As I said,
many of the schools have leased land from government, collectors' land and other things. Do they then fall under?
You see, that's what I'm saying. If you can show substantial finance, yes. The question was private schools. So just by itself, it become private school, it will not fall. But if you can show that there was a great subsidy in the land they received or some other benefits, if you are able to convince the authorities, that is the commissioner or the courts, that there's substantial finance, the wording is substantial finance. If you can show that, then it's covered.
Since we don't have many questions, there are some pertinent questions, issues and questions that Mr. Gandhi raised, and that is for the president and the entire team to take a call on that. One obviously is Sabha taking responsibility along with his team to set up what we call a core team or a team to guide people, particularly in the use of this particular both RTI as well as use of Act 21 to create documentation, just in case whether you then want to move with a writ petition for non-usage or not implementation of Act 21. Also a good opportunity for the Sabha units to set up what we call help desk to guide people particularly in the use of both RTI and as well as Act 21. So I'd like the President and Lawrence to respond to this, because this could be a very good opportunity for the Sabha network to work it out. And as Mr. Gandhi has said it, he is always available. We will also have the help of Mr. Prahlad Kachre also to guide us along with Mr. Shailesh Gandhi on the backups.
See, as far as Bombay Catholic Sabha is concerned, beginning has been made, Mr. Shailesh Gandhi, today with you, with us, in understanding the act. As you rightly, as it has been made known that not many people are aware of this. At least this 55-60 people who participated in this webinar today have got the basic information and a way forward how to make government accountable with respect to implementation of this. What I would request all the participants is to make use of it. Sabha will back you, and in case there is, as you rightly pointed out, that there is enough number of refusals or no replies having been come, they can come back to the Sabha, and the Sabha we will surely discuss this in the executive committee and an appropriate decision, because we are all interested in implementation of this act, that is for sure. However, there has to be substantial material that is available with us to go forward on this. So kindly take it as an assurance that the Sabha will act, provided that we all of us make an attempt to get the services, to get replies to various applications that are made, and then Sabha will certainly help you.
May I make a suggestion, Mr. President? Is whether we have almost 52 participants today, whether Lawrence can lead a team of 4 people from this particular 52 participants to work towards setting this up, because you leave it loose, there will be no follow-ups. So all these people represent units, maybe at the deanery level or at the unit level. So my suggestion would be, if out of these 52 people, if they could send in those who are interested, could send in to Lawrence to say that they are interested in taking this further as part of the core team to work this out, then at least we can push the networks to be connected at the local level. There was one request saying whether help desk can be set up wherever it is possible for convenience of the people. I'm talking about the community and the others basically. So these are options that are there.
Yeah, Dolphy, functionally you are aware that we have started functioning in a very delegatory manner, and all the forums heads, the vice presidents of our Bombay Catholic Sabha, who are handling their respective forums, are equipped with the authority to implement these kind of things. So I think those who are interested can directly get in touch with Lawrence, and based on the interest, we can certainly appoint a core group to implement this.
So can we have in the chat, or by show of hands, or maybe chat, how many of you would like to work with Lawrence under his leadership in terms of working on this? Do we have volunteers who would quickly volunteer to support? You have Alan. Lawrence, are you making a note? Alan Narona. Who else is there? Can you have a quick round, maybe 30 seconds? We need to know how many of you would like to be part of it. Joseph DeCosta from Powai, Joy DeCosta, Aditi.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Joseph
Joy
DeCosta.
Joy DeCosta.
Okay.
Then Reynolds Roy. Aditi is there. You made note of Aditi?
Yeah, Aditi, Reynolds.
Yeah.
Don't make it too big.
Yeah.
Cletus from College of Social Work. Reynolds you took?
Cletus.
Yeah.
Cletus, and after Cletus?
Edward Rodriguez. Stanley Ticuna.
Yes.
So I think that should be good enough. Have you missed out anybody? Alex D'Souza from Goregaon.
Yeah,
So
Alex
this
is
a good enough
help.
number. Okay. How many of you? How many are there, Lawrence?
2, 4, 6, 8, 9.
9. So we can work out how we can go about it, along in consultation with getting inputs from Mr. Gandhi on how to the way forward on this. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else wants to say anything? So over to Lawrence.
Yeah. So we had at one point in time 64 participants, and I would like to thank each and every one of y'all. There would be a formal vote of thanks by my colleague in the trainings forum, that is Adrian Rosario. But before that, I would like to thank Alvin. This is something which goes personally. He is the sponsor and the host of this Zoom meet. And I would like to thank and acknowledge that Bento has also been of help as a vice president for this particular webinar. And of course, Dolphy and the others are there, including advocate, but I would officially like Adrian to please take over.
Right. So as we come to the close of this webinar, on behalf of the Training and Youth Affairs Forum, I want to thank our speaker, Shailesh Gandhi, former CIC Government of Maharashtra. I want to thank former bureaucrat, Prahlad Kachare, as well as our office bearers, the President, the Vice Presidents, Executive Committee, the Secretary General, Treasurer, our Deanery Councillors. Dolphy, a special mention to you for moderating that very well. So many questions kept coming in. Thank you so much. To all our participants, because one of the easiest things to do during a lockdown and in the course of what we are doing is to just say nothing can change. I think what we have learned today is something that can be implemented. Let's not wait for 7 years as it took the government to make those rules to the act, but we need to start working. I like the idea of the committee moving. So all the best to each one of us. Let us support each other to get what we need from the laws, because they're beautiful laws, but on paper. Let's go out today, out of this webinar, confident and committed to do and make a difference. Thank you once again. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good night. Good night,
you.
Mr. Gandhi. Thank you.
And good night. Thank you, Mr. Gandhi. Once again,
Mr. Kachare,
you have been very kind to be with us. And Mr. Kachare, normally we don't find bureaucrats coming. It was very nice of you to have joined us and given your input.